get competitive when it comes to these lore dances. And, you know, I know you and I both, man, have seen teams actually just forfeit all 3 turtles. Like, their game plan is, you know, First Lord, it was like there was no contest at all. And then sometimes they were marching into the base already, ending things, you know, on it, on that First Lord. So for Mali, that's really what I want to see from them. Prioritize those pocket picks if they can, the Prio picks, which would be the Louis or the chip if it's open. Hell, maybe even a Harith if that gets through, you know, and kind of build up around that lineup.
I'm glad you brought that point up, because the early game has been the most dominant way to actually take control of the game, to dictate the pace of the game, right?
Yeah.
If you have an early game composition, you just have a lot more to say in the game and how the game is played. And technically, we did see that for both Senegal and Djibouti. But that's also why a lot of these early game-centric teams could be punished by teams like Senegal yesterday. Again, flashback to the Senegal-Djibouti match, because in that match, especially in game number 2, Djibouti had early game control. They actually gambled on a very early game-centric composition. Meanwhile, on the side of Senegal, they actually took their time with their drafts. They actually utilized the late game and the mirroring, the trading in their composition to get to a point where they're comfortable for those team fights on an Atan. I think we can definitely remember that. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, you guys can go check out the VODs. Click on the channel because the VODs are already there. I'm actually also, I have it up on the right to actually talk a little bit about that game, but it's all for Senegal to try to beat Djibouti's early game was about how they trade around the map. It's all about how they just mirror the chip. Whenever Brun on the chip, on a prio pick like that, by the way, right? And we were to be a big emphasis earlier by you on these prio picks, and Djibouti has been able to get their hands on these prio picks. But when you're up against a team who can adjust and adapt on the fly, like Senegal, and I think like Mali, because we did get to see that a little bit from Mali too, it's going to be really, really hard. Mali, if they're able to just mirror and look for trades to lower that early game goal lead from an early game centric team like Djibouti and then weather the storm in towards when their power spike actually hits, it could be catastrophic for Djibouti. And I think that's also the main thing that Djibouti want to work on based on yesterday. Those are the big mistakes that they can definitely try to iron out in day number 3 today up against Mali. Because if they get that fixed, if they have the early game that they already have right now, plus the late game discipline, they're going to be a very scary team later in Casablanca. But we're in the draft. It seems that Amon will still be respected away from Swag Boy. We're never going to see that ever again.
Yeah, he caused enough havoc with that Amon pick, and you know, still Swag Boy has a lot of things up his sleeve, I feel like, as a jungler, and that's kind of really what helped round him out so far from what we've seen and been able to see in the streams, you know. And the fact too, again, the fact that you can flex things or even your entire lineup role-wise is an advantage that they can play around with. Again, this is something that we typically don't see so much, you know, from other teams in the leagues, like the professional leagues, because, you know, those roles for the most part are locked in, right? So this is actually an upper hand that you can have as they approach some of these games and switch things up based on what heroes they get. And they're going that strat, Mirko, where it's like, we're not going to go that ban. So they don't actually ban something out right now. They're just going to kind of go this way and maybe leave some more things open. We'll see if they pick up the next bans, but you know, right now, okay, it is going to be a Masha. So it's, you know, some people, when they don't see the ban come out, you also have to just kind of assume that maybe that's part of the plan. It is a strategy. It can actually be a strategy.
It can.
Guys,
I'm actually looking back again at the games here to see that Masha ban, because I think Mali also, you know, in the first match yesterday, Senegal versus Mali, I think Senegal also banned out the Masha away from Mali. So I think there's just a bit of respect there towards Mali and how they've been able to utilize the Masha, possibly in scrims that we are not aware of, right? But with the chip and the Roger ban and also the Amon, let's take a look at what Team Mali want to go up and take first. Because yesterday, we saw a big prio, a lot of prio placed down onto the jungle or onto the flex pick of the Barats. In the first game against Senegal, they went for the first pick on Barats, but this time they want to go for Hanabi for skill to kill. Interesting choice for a first pick.
Is this the combination we saw yesterday, man? Is this the Hanabi Carmilla combo?
It was a different team, right? It was not Mali.
A different team. Yeah,
it was a different team.
But I think it worked really well.
It really did.
They go
maybe,
that way.
Yeah, maybe they want to try to replicate that style, right? I believe
Atlas,
the
maybe?
match that was played, Atlas. I don't know, man. Looking at how Brun has been playing, I think he does enjoy, you know, the reactive roamers a bit more, the Diggies, the Minotaurs, perhaps, and maybe even the Mathildas, because we haven't really seen any crazy initiators from Brun, not yet at least.
Yeah.
But the Clint, it's gonna be locked in.
Okay, let's see what this is going to be. Again, when you see it's not often you see a first pick Hanabi, man. But
not at all.
We saw it in play yesterday, and Cho picked up Cho Clint in this first phase. This is what we're talking about, guys. Like the fact that these drafts are, you know, it's obviously the meta, the playstyle they have, and that's what they're going with. But it's really fun to kind of break down exactly the playstyle here that they're going to go with. A Cho and a Clint first pick on an answer from a Hanabi is what we just saw, and that's going to be pretty interesting going up against, of course, the Barats now locked in, holding on to the Vengeance for now, because this technically could still be flexed depending where they want to plan it. Minotaur, the answer right on the flip back. So now we're in that second phase here for the bans. And also the Lilia pick, something, a hero that we haven't seen pop up too much, but obviously still provides a ton of damage. And even the way that, you know, she gets those resets now much quicker and much easier, I would say, helps her out. Plus the Black Shoes can really bait some of these ultimates out. And then if you're rocking the Purify too, there's a whole lot of escapability just for, you know, looking for to deal with here. So good ban with the Diggy, because I was wondering if this is that combination we saw just yesterday, where it was a Hanabi and an Atlas roam. And then I think that was the Kaguro though that time around that was locked in that different composition, or that different team that we saw that play.
The Barats, though, you know, I expected it early in the first phase. I expected it to be the first pick. If they wanted to go for the Hanabi, maybe it could have been where the Barats is right now. Maybe the Barats and the Hanabi could have swapped in the pick order, but either way, we're here with the Barats for Dark Prime. That's been a prio pick for him even from yesterday, and we do get to see that Minotaur, more of a reactive roamer for Brun. And also, a lock-in onto the X-Borg, so a possible X-Borg jungle here that we were also talking about for Djibouti just yesterday. When they picked up the X-Borg, we know that technically it can be utilized as a flex pick. It's going to be great against the Barats, but that will mean that Dexter will be on a Cho XP. And I'm actually a big fan of the Cho XP against the Assassins, usually. If they're not up against Assassins, though, it's going to be quite tough, and they do lock into Harley also. Fun fact, Harley was also always respected yesterday with the Masha. So that's what I was thinking about, right? The Masha plus the Harley, if you remember, for Senegal versus Mali. Elsis finally going to get his hands on that signature pick of his.
Interesting, because it makes me wonder, like, was that a purpose missed ban, or was that supposed to be the Harley, you know, because of what we saw yesterday? Yeah. And okay, they get the Tigreal locked in as well.
Great pick.
To kind of round this slot. Yeah, this is great, because I'm wondering too, I think it was, if I remember right, Lil Jeff that played the Tigreal yesterday with the focusing mark. We'll see if what Billy wants to do here with this Tigreal, but it's a very, is he gonna go? Yeah, I think maybe they'll stick with the Purify there.
No
There's a whole lot of flickers, of course. Yeah. No, wait, who? What? They gotta pick up a red tree.
Dexter, okay.
Okay. I was gonna say they would have to pick it up. That's a little too crazy. That's a little too much spice.
So it seems they've completely swapped their roles here. We were assuming that they would go back to, you know, the roles that they had yesterday, but Dexter, he's going to be the main jungler, I guess. Now Swagboy has been rotated into the XP lane, and even Shanks. Now I guess he's the main mid laner on the Pyramids. He was on the Roger for the most part, I think, in every single game that we casted for Djibouti in day number 1. And in day number 2, we did see that swap in game 2. And I guess they found more comfort with those role swaps. So I'm guessing right now that they will perform better, but no Purifies. What are your thoughts on that, Naisu, against a Tigreal?
Ooh, yeah, no Purifies, man. This is one I always say, you know, you're just relying on being athletic, man. Athletic flicker is all you pretty much have, and your instincts. And you know, we know that they're used to playing in this kind of environment that they have here. So we'll see if they're able to pull it off. But We'll find out as we jump into the Land of Dawn to kick off this day number 3 against Mali here and Djibouti, looking to lock in that last slot, heading into the AEC. Of course, the compositions, we already talked about it quite a bit in the draft, man, but, you know, looking at this, oh yeah, Swag Boy, you know, the poking is actually quite intense. I was trying to look. He has the lethal ignition emblem with it, so he's actually going to be able to poke Dark Prime pretty good on this Barrett's and deal with it. And you know, Billy didn't go with the focusing mark. Tigreal that we saw yesterday, he's got the concussive blast, so he can kind of help clear some things up, especially. And I think this is a crucial part on how he's able to help Elsis on this Harley. Again, Harley was banned out constantly yesterday from what we saw, and we'll see if this actually ends up working here. But for them, we'll have to see. We're gonna.
Don't worry. You know, be patient with us, ladies and gentlemen. It seems having a little bit of a technical issue here, but from the draft at least, right? In the early game, lethal ignitions all across the board here, Niso. They're not just playing with their athleticism, they're also playing with their pure brute force damage they got. 2 lethal ignitions in the early game for crazy burst damage. And again, technically for them, a lot of diversity when it comes to damage output. They have that magic burst, they have that physical burst, and obviously they can always rely on their goal laner later on. But even in their jungle, I think the Exborg adds in another layer of damage that's really, really good. If you get that last Insanity with the full stacks onto these tanky members, that's max HP percentage damage that could be true damage. If it's full stacks, and you gotta be really, really careful. I think for Billy, the main way to actually win out of these skirmishes has got to be coming in late. Because if he gets poked down before the team fight even starts, he can get an implosion, and it could actually connect onto 5 members. But that wouldn't really do anything if he just dies straight up after getting that implosion.
I think that's why, you know, part of this is the point that I was going into when I got a little shook there was the fact that you set yourself up with Harley to be able to get this early momentum going. That's part of the puzzle, right? Because again, going back to everything, I know some people just might be joining us once we got into the draft or into the game. It's for Mali, what's so important for them to do is establish that early game, like get control of it right here, right now. And I think the Harley is part of a key to that piece of the puzzle. You know, so all right, so we're gonna jump back in here. We do have a couple kills on the board. Looks like though, of course. So it looks like it went to looking for and else this and now. Okay, he's gonna flicker out.
Deadly magic. There's a little bit of poke damage there, forcing to flicker out, and it seems the first turtle also been taken, by the way. I'm not too sure who actually got it. Okay, it's Shanks there. He has the turtle off as mid laner. A little bit of a crazy skirmish happened there around the turtle, so really cool that Shanks, the mid laner, out of 2 junglers, the mid laner got it with Ghost Bursters.
Yeah, able to get control. So now that we're caught up here once again, you know, this is the thing. Dexter also got a kill. Oh, hold on. H-Buzz bomb.
Up top, up against Swag Boy, he doesn't have Shampoo though, so he'll be able to escape, and he does easily out of there. And Shanks is hovering up top, maybe trying to punish overextending Dark Prime, but Dark Prime knows better than to stay there for a long time, especially after already depleting himself off of that Daytona's welcome. But the Vengeance, Deadly Magic Elsis trying for this assassination onto Shanks, but he's still able to escape. Good Shadow Stampede to go across the wall, and looking for is just punishing him by shoving that wave.
Yeah, this is the one. So going back to the point too, for Elsis, like he can actually be quite a bit of threat this point in the game early on, and that's what they want to do. So if they can catch him off guard, force him to not actually capitalize on it, you know, the fact that he can assassinate, that's great. So they're going to start up this turtle here, half health.
Gonna go for this red trail. Let's see. Elsa's gonna be knocked out. Good. Midas Fury onto 3 members too, and they'll still be able to actually pop in the CC immune there for the Hanabi. But Nightcrawler, look at the damage that he's coming from. Oh my goodness, that's 2 on the board. Looking for and Billy melted down in that skirmish. Well played, Djibouti.
Well played. I mean, the setup potential from Boone, man, that was on point. The Minoan Fury that he landed set things up really well. And this is kind of what I was going to go back in the draft too, was, you know, up to the Roams, Billy or Brune, who gets the better setup, you know, better setup, whatever you want to call it. But you know, for Billy, he's got to be able to get those implosions off, and that's where he's got to utilize these flicker combinations. Same thing for Brune, but then you have to consider follow-up potential. And for Brune right now, at this point in the game, with the fact that you have Dexter with the last insanity, it helps so much in these early team fights, right? For skill to kill on a Hanabi, again, this was a first pick prio Hanabi. You know, you're gonna have to be able to follow up on those implosions later on, but right now it's like Djibouti just kind of flipped a switch in the early part of the game. They got back control where they wanted to, even though when we got back to the game it was 2-1 across the board. The fact that Shanks was able to get the objective, and so this brings them to a very good position at this point in the game. And it looks like still Elsis has not been able to really capitalize on what they're looking for just yet.
No, not really. You really need a snowball to get going here for the Harley, but so far it's been Djibouti who's actually been able to dictate the pace even now. G Kundo, no way of the dragon used up just yet. Dexter's welcome onto Brun, but he goes in for the Munis Fury on the other side, canceling out an implosion from Billy and getting him down with a lot of damage. Poke that's coming down, but look at the blooms that are placed down in that choke point. Well played to Looking For, who's able to evade from the skirmish earlier and just also able to poke them down. Elsis though, deadly magic with a poker trick in the mid lane. Let's see if it gets anyone down. It's ticking down, but Brun will still be able to survive. Gets that healing, and now Swag Boy rotates over. Jikundo Flicker unable to connect, but he gets the way the dragon onto Looking For, and this time no black shoes for the Lilia.
Oh man, you know, in these instances it's just looking really tough for Molly to be able to find anything right now, you know, across the board to give them that advantage. Again, Elsis needs to be able to capitalize on this Harley pick. It still has plenty of time, but these are, again, you know, objectives that are going to be secured here. It looks like they might be able to fight this one out, though.
Good Detonator's welcome to try to cancel out a possible last insanity engage, but he's still on the turtle now, as that's going to be a two-man Shadow Stampede right into the implosion. Swag Boy able to get rid of Elsis, as that's going to be the turtle taken for free by Djibouti. Last insanity still popped in the end, kill to kill, absolutely obliterated, and that's a double kill for Dexter. Another knockup onto Looking For, where Dark Prime is able to get that vengeance to out-damage Dexter in the end, but look at the trade, it's 3 for 1 currently, and the turtle also went to Djibouti. Swag Boy still wanting to go for another skirmish. Shunpu's to the other side of that pit, and Dark Prime will not be able to continue this chase.
So, you know, again, it looks like there's moments where they might be able to turn things around, but unfortunately Molly lost 3 members there in that fight, that exchange. And so, you know, at this point, again, as you get further in the game, you're talking about the next objective, the Lord, coming up here. Molly might need a lot more time. Look at the damage coming out from Nightcrawler. You know, on this Clint, this was picked up early in that first phase of the picks, and it shows why. They might try to make a play here. Not going to be able to. Shunpo's out. Oh, actually, he had enough damage. He got enough damage on the ultimate to take him down, so at least they get that. This is what I was talking about, though, with Elsis, man. Like, he's got to be able to pull this off to hopefully snowball. That time, that window is slowly collapsing, right? And then it's going to shift to, all right, is skill to kill ready to like pop off on this Hanabi? And I feel like it just takes a lot longer for, you know, Hanabi to get to that point, right? Oof. Looking For just obliterated. Didn't have the black shoes. Well, no, they're out, Pallet. It looks like they just come up.
I think it was up the whole time. I think he just got caught off guard by the grenade bombardment damage from Nightcrawler. And maybe he thought, you know, he was already in a bad spot. He didn't want to utilize any of those resources or technically waste it, because he knows he was already dead. He overextended a bit too far, I think.
Okay, so as they recollect themselves, it looks like they still want to focus on this tier 1. Dark Prime might try to go in. Oh,
implosion onto 2 members there. That's gonna be the Miss Fury, also catching them every single one on the disengage. A good Nether Realm to give them a little bit more HP as Elsis dives deep into the back, but can only find Brun with the deadly magic. Oh my lord! Grenade bombardment absolutely wipes Elsis off of the land of Dawn, and it's a complete wipeout for Djibouti.
What is the damage coming out from Nightcrawler, man?
Who's the assassin now?
Yeah, there's a reason why they wanted to prioritize that Clint, and that's going to just result in this objective freely taken from them, able to go ahead and march in wherever they want to. And most likely, again, with this lead, we're talking about a 6, almost 7,000 gold lead at this point, and Nightcrawler is massive right now. So that's something that has to be kind of controlled here for Mali somehow. It's like you got to be able to put out this fire, because the snowball's full potential now, and something has to be done, because as the Lord marches down the bottom side, how are you going to deal with, you know, just the damage output? So again, it looks like they're going to focus on opening up the map even further, getting these tier 1s, working on the rest, the tier 2s as well. And look who's marching with the Lord. It's Nightcrawler there on the bottom side. So we'll see Billy trying to hold down the front here. I'm not sure if they want to be up this far and get cut off. Trying to hold on to that tier 2 though. Looks like he's able to do it. Unless it's forced fight once again, Billy will be able to get away with his life, but still they got to hold down some of these other waves, pushing in. And you're seeing how strong Djibouti is right now with the lead that they have, the damage output there. The tier 2 finally goes down, and the ball is kind of in the court for Djibouti to kind of play around this power spike that they're having right now. Conceal going to be used.
By Billy, trying to look for an implosion flicker combo, but he doesn't have the flicker. There you go. He actually does pop it in the end, but will not be able to find anyone. The grenade bombardment again melts him down. They're all getting outranged by Nightcrawler, who's just quick drawing from the back, looking for, trying to escape there. Gets a death as welcome on to Dexter, and he does fall to the deadly magic. Look at the swag boy, who gets a Jiku no flicker and is able to get rid of Elsis. And now a base turret falls in the bottom lane, only looking for who is alive. And the Jiku no connects to get away the dragon. A good assassination, but no, looking for, he got kicked into the fountain. He got the additional HP that he needed, and now Djibouti needs to reset, maybe go for the mid lane tier 2.
Miscalculated a little bit on the way of the dragon there. Ends up in the fountain. That's fine though. They did exactly what they wanted to. Based off that first Lord take, they got that base turret as well on the bottom side. They're going to continue to work here in the mid, and possibly, I don't know. I think it's still, given the fact that they have this major lead, they still have to respect the fact that there is damage potential, pick-off potential, and if it's Nightcrawler that does go down in the fight, there's still some damage, you know, from Dexter, from Shanks, like we saw from Swagboy even. But, you know, that's the thing. It's a time game at this point. So Mali has to be able to farm up the way they can, and that's really when you're forced on... Oh, hold on. Daytona's welcome?
We guess dash 2, and Brun is just able to walk out of the Detson as welcome. Nightcrawler caught in choke point. A grenade bombardment forces the black shoes, and looking for, now with no black shoes, no purify either. It's still on cooldown, but will be up just right now. So he still should be able to utilize that, but I think Djibouti have already baited 2 big ultimates to go for the Lord take for free.
Yeah, they dealt with that pretty well. So this is just going to result, like I said, into another objective being taken here. Djibouti full control, nearing now the 10,000 gold lead, and nearly 10,000 gold lead. Hey man, we saw this yesterday. We saw what Djibouti can do with a lead, and we've seen the team fights already. So Mali has to hold on the best they can to deal with this, what's coming basically. And that's the thing, you don't have the vengeance just yet for its dark prime. Most likely will be down unless they kind of stall this out, but this could be a game-winning push here for Djibouti as they get the waves kind of prepped up and ready. Lord's going to be making its way down the bottom. And again, keep an eye on Swagboy, where he decides to actually initiate with the flicker combination with the Way of the Dragon. There's plenty of things that they can do to initiate this fight and force it into the base. So Mali, now they have to get prepped up, ready for the defense. Lord makes its way down the bottom lane with the team.
Only one way to play with Djibouti, not able to utilize that mid or top wave. Not just yet. That is welcome. Grenade bombardment doing so much damage. Jax as well with the flicker and Shadow Stampede. Take a look at this Fury, knocking 2 up. Robert Dexter to blow up at the back of the last Insanity. That's 4-man implosion, but it will not get Nightcrawler. Guy who's still just free hitting in the base will just be targeted down by Nightcrawler with the quick draw. Game number 1 to Djibouti.
Here we go. Like we said, when they have the lead, Djibouti is going to go for it, and that's exactly how that game went. We saw the glimpse of it yesterday, how they played, and that's why I was saying, man, the winning point here, the winning condition for Mali was to control the early portion of the game. And, you know, we didn't get the glimpse of exactly what happened at the very start, but, you know, it looked like at least they had they were up on 2 for the kills, but then things kind of just fell apart. They got out of control.
Really did.
Djibouti really punished and utilized the lineup that they have. And, you know, even for Nightcrawler, man, like his damage was just on point. He did such a good job at following up and being where Barun was to set things up with the Minoan Fury. There was some very key team fights that just went highly in favor of Djibouti and where the carries really got to shine, you know, and that's something that helped that snowball concept that we've seen time and time again now from Djibouti to work for them. So for Mali, now that we've seen, you know, their games yesterday and then their game just here in game number 1, I think that's really what they have to do. They really have to find some way to control the early game. And I think they did, man. I still want to say the fact that they picked up the Harley, it seemed like that was the game plan. We have a Harley. Let's try to start this off by assassinating people early on. But it was defended. That whole concept was defended so well from Djibouti with the lineup and just the way that they played. So, you know, hats off to Djibouti to answer to the Harley that we saw constantly banned yesterday. And I think they played it perfectly there.
Got to give props to how confident they were to utilize the damage output, because in that final Lord push, you called it. It might be the final Lord push for Djibouti, but I don't think we expected them to just go brute force in with one wave. We expected them maybe to utilize the other waves in the mid lane and the top lane and maybe have it all crashed into that base together. But the fact that they were so confident that they could say, nah, we don't need the mid lane. We don't need the top lane. All we need is that Lord with 3 minions in the bottom lane for us to dive deep in the back. And it's crazy to see that Shanks, out of all the other initiators, out of all the other members that could, you know, initiate first, it was Shanks who flickered forward with the Shadow Stampede to bring them back, and then the re-engage happened. And then like the follow-up happened, not the re-engage, from the Minions Fury, and then ultimately Dexter with the execute. And this is something that we were talking about all the way from the early game. Because for the Tigreal, makes sense. You can still utilize this, you can still make this work, but you have to come in very, very late into the team fight. And that he did. But unfortunately, at that point, his team was already poked down so hard by the crazy range of Nightcrawler with the grenade bombardment. Not just crazy range, crazy damage. He was a ranged assassin, technically, in that game. That's what he was doing. He was assassinating targets all across the board as the Clint. And even Swagboy right there, I think for the most part with the G Kundos, he was more of a utility pick. He was there to just get rid of the shielding from skill to kill so that the Minions Fury would connect, so that the last Insanity would be enough to execute them. And by the time any sort of real engage happens from Billy on that implosion, it would just all be for naught. All the damage dealers would just be dead by that time.
Yeah, it's not often that you see, you know, an XP lane Cho picked up anymore. You know, I still feel like it's a very niche, you could say. Hell, it's a niche roam pick even today, you know, like as good as it was before in the past, still served its purpose. And I would say, yeah, Swagboy did an amazing job dealing with it. But again, it makes you wonder, like, yo, the Hanabi was first picked, like it was prioritized, they locked it in, and, you know, unfortunately, it just did not get the job done because Hanabi, like I said, we saw this yesterday too. Same thing. I think it's still sitting at a 0% win rate, you know, in the gold lane because of so far. It just takes so much time. Like look what happened to Nightcrawler, man. He got like what, 2 items locked in. He was like popping off with the damage already. You know, Clint, that's pretty much all he needs. And the way that he works with that, like he scales up so much quicker, I feel like, than in a 1 versus 1 comparison to a Hanabi, right? I mean, Clint is still not he's not the marquee gold laner that you pick up. He's like the old faithful pickup, and, you know, yeehaw.
Absolutely.
Like I love him. I love it when it does pop up, you know. But you know, Hanabi it's a ninja versus a cowboy, man. You know, and Cowboy's probably going to hurt a little bit more, and that's exactly what happened there. So, you know, hopefully Mali can readjust. Again, it is a best of 3. They can actually adjust, and I think really when you break down the draft, it just, like, they needed better picks in the first phase. You know, I think there was a lot more that they could have taken instead of just the Hanabi. Like, even if that's a super comfort thing, like, that's like me being like, yeah, let's take the Gord first pick. Like, you don't need to. You know, no one's going to ban it out. No one's going to pick it up probably before. No one's probably going to pick up the Hanabi. You know, like, most likely there's going to be a better gold lane option. So I'm still thinking, you know, scratching my head a little bit, like, what was the idea of picking up that Hanabi first when there was great other, things available. And I like that there was still some flex. Like they tried to flex some things here and there, but the execution just didn't pan out for them. Again, we always look at face value of drafts and what they bring to the table. It should have worked pretty well. Again, having the Tigreal, you already talked about him as well, getting actually some pretty good sets, but unfortunately, again, when you have this assassin jungler like a Harley, his job is literally to go in, get the kill, get out. Like that's all he's going to do. And unfortunately, once that is gone and doesn't work, and once the ultimate is used up, you kind of just have to wait, because you're talking about that's your jungler, and then you have a gold lane like Hanabi who takes so long, to build up. So you don't have much options from there. Yeah, they had a Lilia, but really, it just seemed like the scaling was just out of proportion, I would say, for this. So that's at least, kind of breaking down some of the things here, guys, what we think Mali could have changed, of course, for the draft. It's all like timing on power spikes too is a whole nother thing. And usually in these games, of course, when you look at the lineups and you've been watching a lot of MLBB, you kind of know like, oh, this lineup is going to take a little bit longer to hit that power spike before this one. And unfortunately for Mali, that was the lineup that they have. And again, I think the caveat to that was we got a Harley. But again, it was like and this is where then it becomes a technical skill thing against the other team dealing with it. I think they just played around having a Harley against them really well for Djibouti. Like they played it so well to the point where it almost nullified some of what Elsis could have done on the Harley. Yeah, he got a couple kills, but oftentimes he was using that ultimate because Swag Boy was up in front doing his work, doing his job, and so I think those are some things that obviously Mali can kind of break down and adjust, and maybe, who knows, Miracle, we'll actually get to our first game 3 up to this point on day 3. Maybe today is a full day of game 3s.
Hope we see it. I hope we see something different because, again, yeah, the first 2 days we've been seeing just full clean sweeps in every single match, and we've had 3 matches per day. So far, we've had 6 matches go 2-0, every single one of them. So yeah, going back to that game, it really did feel like for both of these teams, for Mali especially, there were some core mistakes definitely for Mali. The first pick of the Hanabi, you mentioned that it was just weird to go for it. There are a lot of different goal laners, but I would say, even if you were just tunnel vision on the Hanabi, if you really just wanted the Hanabi pick, it could have came in earlier or later on in the drafting phase because they were on first pick. That blue side pick, first pick in the first phase of the draft, is a big one. And yesterday they had the right idea. They always picked up something like a Barat in the first pick that acted as a foundation to the crazy picks that they will go for later on. So it would be great to go for the Harley, to go for the Hanabi, only just a bit later. The fact that they picked up the Hanabi means that Djibouti could just counter it straight off the bat, and that's why they went for the Cho so early on. They went for the Cho, and then they went for the Clint, right? So instantly, Cho to get rid, and again, the Cho, I think, right as it was picked up, they knew, at least. We didn't know. We were still assuming if it was going to be Rome, if it was going to be XP, but I think they knew it was going to be used as an XP because the way that they utilized the Cho was it was just there to provide enough damage to get through the shielding so that the Hanabi could be vulnerable to the CC that they would implement later on in their draft. And with the Cho plus the Clint, they had 2 side lanes that could deal with the Hanabi. Cho later on towards the game when he actually gets online after clearing his own way, after winning his own lane, but the Clint as a bully, if you outrange Hanabi, especially on the Clint, if you have a way to just constantly trade with a Hanabi and win out in the trades, that's how you really beat Hanabi. Because on the Hanabi, you want to win in the early game through shoving the wave. You want to utilize your passive with the basic attacks just bouncing onto these minions. And unfortunately, Mali weren't given the option to do that. Weren't given the option to look for any wins in the early game with the Hanabi. And one more point that I do want to bring up is the X-Borg flex. Because we were talking about how, for Djibouti, especially after seeing the crazy role swaps yesterday, that they can actually utilize their flex picks. They're so flexible in roles and picks, and that X-Borg pick to round off the first phase was just amazing. Because then they would just keep on adjusting to where the Barats is going to go. The X-Borg, I think they still could have flexed that with the Cho, Rome Cho, and then, XP X-Borg, depending on where the Barats went. But in the end, they found out that, you know what? the export just fits in the jungle here. The Harley is really not going to have any presence up against someone with 2 HP bars, especially if he gets immortality early. So great moves by Djibouti in that draft.
Yeah, very smart, and it makes me always wonder. Like again, this is why I enjoyed the opportunities we got to interview some of the players after winning. Of course, is learning. You know, like some of them obviously they said they worked with coaches. You know, some of them don't have coaches. I'm sure they just do everything themselves. Some of them are just like 5 college buddies that hang out, play MLBB at night, and they compete in tournaments. You know, like there's such a variety here, I feel like, of competitors, and I think that's what is great to see, because you know, for Djibouti, the way that they went through the draft, like you said, it was unorthodox to see for majority of viewers being like, wow, there's a Cho and a Clint picked up first phase. But yeah, you broke it down, the idea behind it, the way it was utilized to deal with the Hanabi alone, you know. And if again, this is just purely a pocket pick, because that's why it would be in my head. I'm like, this is one of the main reasons why it would be first pick prio, is because it's a pocket pick, and it's most comfortable. That was the answer, and it kind of nullified that. And I think even in a way, if you're gonna build your lineup on the fact that you're gonna prio that gold lane and that's comfort, that's fine. I think it's just they had to have this kind of lineup that was really able to support the Hanabi. And I can't recall, I don't think that Angela was banned out, but maybe something that would be more supportive to help kind of, you know how some roamers like babysit a lane? Not entirely, but they spend way more time in the gold lane rather than actually roaming. And if it's an Angela, you can actually do that while hard guarding across the map. You know what I mean? So like it would have at least allowed, you know, some of these instances where Skill to Kill had a lot better time, at least in the lane, dealing with things. But, you know, inevitably, the team fights that broke out, there was just too much that overloaded them. And I think, yeah, even the export was a big factor to it. So we'll see what adjustments are made. You know, we really kind of like broke down those 2 drafts and for you guys, and what we think about the theories behind them as well. Again, a lot of this is their own, you know, meta playstyle. So you're going to see things, if you're first time tuning in on day 3 here for, you know, African online qualifiers for IESF, we've seen a lot of crazy things that work out really well because they just know how to play them damn well, and you know that's what they're going for. So as we get through this first phase, similar bans so far. The Amon's going to be taken out, of course, you know, Respect over here, and it's still the Masha, constant ban against Molly that we've seen. Lo Yi will be taken out. I'm wondering if the chip will be as well, or if that slips through. Minotaur, good Respect ban as well against Brune.
Brun just really loves to go for the reactive roamers, right? We mentioned it earlier in game number 1 in the draft, and right now with the Minotaur ban, it makes sense, and that's going to be a change as well. A little bit of a change now with the Mathilda. So they banned out the Masha and the Lo Yi, and now the Mathilda. The Mathilda was already banned out as well by Djibouti in game 1, but it was only in the 2nd phase. So technically, right now the chip is still up for grabs. It seems, you know, for Mali, they have put in more emphasis on the bans towards the Roger and the Minotaur for Brun. I think the chip should be taken here, right? But, oh, Dexter, talking about these prio picks, Dexter and Diablo yesterday. Yeah, this is a big prio pick yesterday in the skirmishes, and I think we still have Yuzong at 100% win rate, right? Nice to from all the streamed matches. So Yuzong has been a very good pick, and certainly they'll just pick it up instantly.
This is yeah, I wholeheartly agree with Yuzong being first pick. It could have been the chip. We could have seen that. Again, Harith is even still open, but right now Yuzong has been on a winning spree 100%, and Skill to Kill might lock this in still. Could still just opt for the Hanabi. Lilia's already locked in here. I'm wondering again if this is okay. So it's locked in, and now I'm going to go back to my point. You have to be able to just protect this, and it looks like, you know, Nightcrawler is just going to be like, yeah, last game was great for me. Yeah, I'll deal with that. But like I said, I really want to see this go to a game 3 for Molly to kind of have that redemption from what happened in game 1. And so that's what I think, man. You really got to be able to support this Hanabi pick for Skill to Kill here, because he had a rough time previously, and it will still be rough. Like the fact that you don't have the Cho here, but you have a Yuzhong across from you, Oh, that is going to be tough. So they have to kind of build on that. Love to see if this is the roam option that's locked in here for Mali. That was a fair miss, of course, being picked up over here. So for Djibouti, already that first phase is looking very good, especially how we saw them play in the previous game.
My big question now is Dexter going to be on the Yuzong, or will we see Swag Boy still go into the XP this time with the Yuzong? Because yeah, they've been roll swapping a lot, they've been flexing their heroes a lot, but based on day number 1, it was Dexter who popped off on the Yuzong, right? So maybe Swag Boy goes into the jungle, and that's maybe why Dark Prime decides to deny the Dairoth pick away, because that Dairoth was what we were very, very impressed about in Swag Boy's performance in game number 2 of match number 2, I believe, of day number 1. So taking it away, denying that out of Swag Boy, but also placing it in their team's composition. I'm not a big fan of this Dairoth pick up against this composition, right? Because you already have a fair miss. That's another layer of HP to deal with the Abyssum Strike, with the execute that you want to try to perhaps utilize in this game. And also for the Yuzong, you can just fly away anytime Dark Prime tries to go for the all-in. The dub I get right now, the dub I'm looking at right now is definitely skill to kill and looking for, because the Hanabi and the Lilia will provide a lot of good AoE damage, and technically if Djibouti clump up together to utilize the Netherrealm, they could get punished real hard. And we did see glimpses of this in the previous game, when Looking For has been able to pop in these blooms in the choke points, and when Djibouti decides to engage in these choke points, they have been punished. So I think right now Mali needs to capitalize on that. They saw that in game number 1, try to do that again, but a bit cleaner now with more lockdown. Go for some big initiators again, because up against the Clint, one bad thing about the Clint is you're kind of forced on the flicker. You can't go for the Purify. Well, you technically can, but you would find more value with the flicker. So going for the Tigreal again would be okay.
Okay, let's see what they lock in. You know, that is the main point. How do you want to utilize the fact that you have this Hanabi, the Lilia? They're going to take this Akai. This is probably one of the most solid junglers you can take up, given the fact that the Fredrin Barretts is banned out. You know that possibly you'll have to kind of be that front line, the lockdown as well, to utilize the Abyssum Strike because you have a Dairoth. But still, let's see what's locked in here to round this lineup out for Djibouti. The Kufra's being hovered over. Carmilla still actually a very vital pick so far, just in the current meta. Carmilla's great. Oh my. And we're gonna get to see another unique hero, man. Alucard is actually gonna be locked in with the Carmilla pick.
Wow, the Alucard pick. Usually you see the Alucard picked up against assassins, but
yeah,
this is an Akai that we're seeing from Elsa's. This is a utility jungle pick, so it seems Djibouti are just that confident. Technically, with the patch, the Alucard has been buffed in the previous patch, but hasn't been buffed that much to a point where you can actually use it. Well, to be fair, they are up against a Hanabi, so maybe pure damage is the way to go, right? You just want to get rid of that Aegis, get rid of the shielding that Hanabi has, and then plow through the composition with a dive.
I think that's part of the idea, right? Like, jump in if you can with this, you know, Alucard. He actually he still provides decent damage, kind of burst potential.
Really good damage.
But okay, Belric was actually a solid choice for a roam. This is what we wanted to see, man, because previously, what was that, day 1, we saw the Belric parked in the XP lane, and we both were like, come on, we want to see him in the roam, and now we're going to be able to see Billy bring it to the table here. And I think once again, this combination of heroes actually works out pretty well. Belric, Akai, Dairoth. You have great setup potential. You can get the lockdowns. You can get the reduced armor, so that, again, this time around, Silent to Kill should be able to shine on this Hanabi. It's picked up first pick. We're already getting the word, you know, hey, this is a comfort pick. This is what he likes to play. And we were saying this can work, but again, you have to kind of sculpt that lineup around the fact that this is what your gold lane wants to play. And so I think this is actually, it solves that. That is what it is for, you know? Again, you should be able to land things up really well. Having a Belric too, running the Vengeance, might help a little bit in some of these fights going on. Again, when Alucard's jumping around, jumping over walls, you know, they're gonna have to deal with that. But let's find out here if we actually get to go to a game 3 ahead of us. It's Djibouti. I was about to say Djibouti. Djibouti versus Mali, man. Match point right now for Djibouti, facing off against Mali. We'll see what adjustments can be made from game number 1 here. Again, trying to lock in that slot. This is the last match for the men's MLBB in the African Online Qualifiers, going to AEC Casablanca, Morocco, and again, eventually to WEC 2024. So poking here. Hey, man, Yuzhong Dexter. Let's see if he keeps the 100% win rate dream alive on this Yuzhong.
We'll see. Yeah, last slot, ladies and gentlemen, being fought for right now for the Northern African slot of qualifiers here to Casablanca. So we'll see if it's going to be Djibouti or Mali. But if we take a look at the emblems here, it seems like, you know, it's still kind of the same for Mali. They're still running 2 lethal ignitions, so really relying on that damage output. The carry in the bottom lane. We do see a 1v1 happening here. Not too sure who's actually winning it out. It's a Petrify used up by Dark Prime, it seems. And it seems in the bottom lane, Dark Prime is the one forced back. So impressive stuff, man. Early game, you would expect the Dyrot to actually win out, but Dexter, he's doing a good job at zoning him, and he should be able to shove this wave. So punishing him, recalling at a bad time, and that's going to be a whole wave that he gets to miss.
100% win rate. Dexter wants to maintain it, you know, and either of them, none of them go down for now, but Turtle will be up in just a bit. Wow, whoa. First blood. Swag boy. Coming out on top, man. Oof. Good timing, like though.
That. Yeah. It seems, you know, by the way, nice so. Elsis and all the Akais that we've seen from the Africa region, they just really love Brave Smite, right? We haven't seen a single concussive blast despite the little weakness that Akai has, which is the wave clear. But so far, I think the Akais, for the most part, have been doing pretty good with the Brave Smites. We'll see for the neutral objective, though, right now, as Billy starts it up and Shanks tries to hold on it. He's going to get level 4 very, very soon. Looking for as well. Hovering over that level 4. Very, very close to getting it. And it seems Billy just wants to try to bait and delay this turtle as much as possible. As Elsis goes onto the purple, but with a little bit of help from Looking For. Good Dragon Tail damage. The Furious Dive onto Billy. Both teams still hovering over this turtle. No one really committing onto it. Dexter doing some damage. Back to Billy, trying to poke him down. He doesn't have the ultimate. He doesn't have the Wrath of Dryad. Not just yet. Black Dragon Form going to be used up. And also the Shadow Stampede. Swag Boy winning on the Retreat battles. Billy will be zoned away, and Brun keeps on chasing him in the back line with a Black Dragon Form too. But it's Dark Prime gets an Abyssal Strike mid-air to take him down from the skies. Shanks on full retreat, but the Wrath of Dryad locks him down for a double kill to be picked up. And Dark Prime is obliterating Djibouti's forces just like that. Triple kill claimed by Dark Prime.
Hey, that's exactly what he needed on this Dyroth pick. Locked in, gets the triple. That's going to be massive for his lane, because now this also makes me worried for Dexter, because now you're facing against a stacked Dyroth against you. So this makes it much more difficult with that just influx of gold he just got. He's able to work with. And you saw the way the team fight went, the way that it unfolded there. It was long because of the fact that you have these vengeance to work through by both teams. You have the Billy on this Belric, and this is, oh, look at it. Look at it. Oh my goodness.
Abyssal Strike, a solo kill, petrified, great one by Dexter to disengage. Meanwhile, up top, what happened? Skill to kill. Gonna be taken down behind his own turret, and Shanks will be traded back. Brun is able to escape, getting that movement speed. But I think that might be worth it. Mid lane for gold lane.
Yeah, mid lane for gold lane, but you know, going back to it, that's the thing you have to watch out for. I think Dexter now at this point, it's kind of a dead lane for him. Like, he's got to be able to make an impact somewhere else, because even when he just sticks in the lane trying to get the XP, trying to get the farm up, unfortunately, it's kind of difficult. Oh, skill to kill goes down too. Top side, man. Again, they're gonna push that top side. They're gonna get some of that extra gold, but this is what I was talking about leading into it. This is a dead lane for Dexter. He kind of just has to sit there and deal with it and hope that the team's able to find wins elsewhere. But now we're coming to it. A turtle's gonna be up here once again, and we'll see how this adjusts. It's Dark Prime's moment to be able to set things up for the team and possibly force him out. Brun.
Good damage on Brun. Almost took him down, dude, and he's the frontliner. Now he's forced to back away, hop in that regen. Let's see if Swagboy can actually enter around this team fight, because this time Billy does have that Wrath of Dryad. Shanks hovering over, getting that Ghost Bursters down, doing a little bit of poke, but Brun gets obliterated, pops into Curse of Blood before anything happens though, and now Swagboy goes for Efficient Wave in towards the Turtle Pit, but will not be able to find it. It's a good retribution from Elsis, as the Black Dragon form will only be used to scout a little bit of the position now of Mali, but it seems Dexter, Furious Dive, Petrify wants to go in for the back line, but it's going to be looking for who's able to disengage for now. But Dexter does the same thing. Take a look though at this Dark Prime, because it feels like he wants to go for a dive, jumps in forward and gets the monster kill. Brun cannot even look for a trade.
This guy is massive. You know, pretty much he's having the dream start 6-0. Billy's going to get punished, though, in the mid lane, so he's 6-0 right now, man, and this is exactly kind of where he wants to be on the Dairoth. Now, the question is, can the rest of the team kind of keep it together, hold it together, because even as good as the game Dark Prime's having right now, okay, he might actually fight Brun.
Oh, very risky move by Brun there.
All right.
That's a 6-0 Dairoth.
Yeah, going back to the point, so it's still relatively even economy-wise. Like, all this gold right now is packed into the Dark Prime, and so we'll have to see Djibouti, how do they answer this, how do they respond to it. And it looks like Mali might be trying to make a move on this part of the map, upside. Nightcrawler's going to spot it out, though, so he's going to be fine. And so, again, you're left to wonder, how can Dexter even adjust to this? There is 4 members up here on this top side. It looks like they're going to send Skill to kill down that mid lane.
Good Curse of Blood, but the Vengeance gets popped in by Billy, still able to sustain and soak in that damage from Team Djibouti. And Nightcrawler will be forced back just to clear the waves. Brun, ooh, taking a big chunk of damage from the blooms placed down by Looking For. But both teams won't commit, not in this team fight, not yet. But Dark Prime is waiting in the bush. Shanks tries to read it out, man, and this is a very, very dangerous game that they are playing. Hovering over to Dairoth, that's 6-0. In the mid lane, Black Dragon form defensively forced out from Mali.
Okay.
What?
Whoa. He got shut down? Top side, it looked like, right? I mean, yeah. Billy's there now. But that's a massive shutdown. Yeah, there he is, right by the bush. I was like, where did he go down at? So that is a huge shutdown, of course. You could see how that kind of tipped the scale for the gold as well. And so now this is most likely, all right, Turtle's taken though. I don't think they want to fight it. They at least get the objective here. So again, they're going to find themselves. Mali, they have answered that win condition we talked about from game 1, really securing that early game, and that was on the shoulders of its Dark Prime. Like, he did this with the Dairoth very well, and it's up to the rest of the team now for Mali to kind of play around that. Dexter's having a very difficult game on the Yuzhong this time around. Look at its Dark Prime. He might look for an initiation under this turret even, but they might go for it here.
Shanks, can he get rid of that last cannon minion? No, he cannot. Not before the turret falls here. And take a look at Dark Prime, who's already just very, very aggressive. But what's unfortunate now for Team Mali is the fact that they have a lot of objectives in, you know, in their pocket right now. They have a massive lead on the Dairoth. But if you take a look at the bigger picture here in the team gold, it's actually still Mali leading with 1,000 gold. Djibouti leading with 1,000 gold over Mali. Brun up top again, acting as a frontline 3-man. Curse of Blood locking him down. Abyssum Strike only connecting on another realm, and Nightcrawler will be able to kite away. And now the grenade bombardment onto the back. Skill to kill will not be able to survive. Not from the Ghost Bursters plus the quick draw. And Djibouti answer again.
Okay, Djibouti. We've seen them do it time and time again. Turning things around, looking for. Okay, he's still got the black shoes, gonna be fine. But this is where, you know, that turning point in most of these games. Elsis.
Elsis completely melted down by the Alucard. Efficient Wave as well. Looking for a force to pop in the black shoes just to survive that crazy burst damage. And now we're seeing what an Alucard could do, especially an Alucard that just got a 6-0 bouncy. Swagboy dumping in between the two turrets. Now with another realm as well, saving him. It's all a bait, and Billy will be caught in that bait. Absolutely obliterated by Djibouti, who just collapsed on them. 3-0.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Like, this is something that just Djibouti does. if they're not controlling the early game, which is a rare occasion, then somehow, some way, mid-game into the transition of that first Lord, they somehow just completely get the driver's seat going in their favor. And they don't stop, so now this is going to be a big objective for them. And it's tough because it's Dark Prime's early dominance has pretty much just been diminished because that evenly distributes the gold over here for Djibouti, and everybody pretty much has some of these key item spikes already on timing. Dexter, even though he had a hell of a game at trying to get things together, going against a Dyroth that was sitting at a triple kill and eventually a 6-0, he's done a pretty good job at now getting the items he needs. He's got the Hunter Strike, he's got the War Axe. He can actually go ahead and continue to build up. It looks like he might even go Dominance Ice next. But really his job at this point, and has been, you've seen him adjust on the fly where it was like, I'm just going to initiate, get the Furious Dive with the Petrify combination off, and let the team shine from there. And so that's what's happened here. And once again, Mali might be forced to fight on their side of the map unless they're able to just kind of continue to play defensively. But they have to deal with the Lord also top side.
Still just shoving it as slow as they can, wanting to build up these waves to a massive wave that will be crashing down into that base turret. So far, Elsis in a bush, not spotted. There you go, Swagboy walks up and spots out Billy and Elsis, who's then forced back up towards that top side of the map. Meanwhile, Nightcrawler's dealing a little bit of damage with the grenade bombardment onto looking for, but good wave clear from Mali. They are able to get rid of the first Lord up top with the blue. Dark Prime, though, jumping forward with the Petrify as well, but another round comes in clutch. Grenade bombardment to get rid of Dark Prime now, as that's going to be a Wrath of the Dry with the Cursed Blood as well. But Swagboy goes to the flanks, fishing way to delete them, but now gets caught in the heavy spin, pinned down under the turret. Skill to kill. Quick drawn by Nightcrawler, and it seems 3 for 2. It ends up being still a win for Djibouti.
Yeah, they still somehow managed to, get something out of it, and they're going to continue to get these turrets actually getting more space to work around with the map. I mean, there's fighting spirit here from Mali, but eventually, if they're going to lose these shields in the turret, they might lose some health as well on them. And really, when you break it down, their defense, the high ground defense that they have with this lineup, they can clear waves decently well, but the big problem is some of the forced entry points from Djibouti. They might go for it again when you have this kind of tanky lineup available to you. Oh, hold on, they already get the black shoes out, so they're dealing with that. That's one cooldown down, but still, again, my point is once they approach the base here, Djibouti has options to initiate, and that can even be Shanks just flickering in if he wants to, because they know that they have a Carmilla with a Vengeance that can tank things up. They know they have a Nether Realm to rely on. And oh, Dark Prime
1v1 Abyssum Strike and the Petrify. It's Dark Prime finally getting that 7th kill in the game. It seemed like he was just stuck on the 6 kills for what, the last 11 minutes, and finally gets the kill in the bottom lane when he can still find a 1v1. He's still probably, no one can really contest him in the 1v1. Not right now, right? I don't think anybody on Djibouti can 1v1 him just yet, or maybe Swagboy can do it. He's already ready for the fishing wave as well, and there, as I said, he goes in and looking for, gets caught as well. He's unable to pop into black shoes in time. He only pops into Purifying. Billy will be caught in the Nether Realm and the Shadow Stampede that locks him down to bring him forth to the sword of Swagboy that gets rid of him here in the Land of Dawn. 13 minutes and Djibouti has gotten another team fight victory.
I was surprised as well. I mean, again, we don't see Alucard often. So when he pops in, he uses the Retribution to go and fight Dark Prime and gets that little bit of extra damage as well on top of it. That's why he blew up. And it's Dark Prime, unfortunately, was not able to withstand that. So now they find themselves once again. Skill to kill. Oh, they're going to chase him. He's going back. He's got to get back in time.
He's recalling, but it's going to be in time. Oh, like barely. The Black Dragon was already on the chase. Nice. That was scary, man.
Okay, so they survive for now. Skill to kill is needed for the defense, so it's good that he was able to get away. So right now, Lord making its way top side, still base turrets being held onto, but this is going to be very difficult because nearly again finding themselves at a 10,000 gold deficit for Mali. And remember, if you guys missed the beginning of the game, Dark Prime was at one point just carrying the early game on this Dyroth. He could still possibly assassinate someone here, but now they have to defend.
Now this time with an enhanced Lord that will be charging and will be able to get that base turret up top. No other wave to play with though, and looking for is able to look for that damage to clear out this Lord. Clear out the wave. Petrifying the Furious Dive, only connecting onto L6, who's still able to escape right now as Billy pops in the Rather's right, and they all clump it around. And now it's going to be the heavy spin of disengaged by L6, but it's not going to be enough as Swag Boy continues to dive under the turret. It's a grenade bombardment under the fountain as well. Skill to kill still able to survive. Looking for dealing with the mini waves. A skill to kill goes for Nightcrawler, but Nightcrawler is still alive together with Shanks, the 2v2 of the gold lane and the mid lane. Nightcrawler going to still stay up top as Shanks tries to go for this mid lane, and the siege will happen. That's another base turret going down for Mali. Djibouti, they might be looking for all three right now with another wave coming down in the bottom lane, but it seems they want to take the safe route first. They don't want to go for anything too risky. They've gotten 2 base turrets, and that's already incredible value.
Yep, value it is. And again, it was good that Looking For was able to keep them at bay because it was his damage that he had and even the slow that he provides to be able to keep them from possibly ending that game. Nightcrawler hasn't died yet. It's been, he's done a fantastic job at utilizing the flicker for a lot of defensive maneuvers. But right now, still, Djibouti finds themselves in a very good lead, and they have one more base turret to get down. They'll most likely kind of just wait this out. I mean, they're 30 seconds away from this Lord being up here, and Mali has no choice but to pretty much gather together, get in the zone. But look at Dark Prime.
Oh no, he tried to look for the assassination again, and he almost gets it onto Dexter, but another round comes in clutch, and Nightcrawler again with the late game grenade bombardments, bro. My God, he's getting to a point of the game where he can probably one-shot even the frontliners of Mali.
That's man, that's the wrong time to go down, man. Again, he's kind of needed for, I mean, he'll be up for the defense. Maybe it's more like, all right, if he did survive, would they actually contest the Lord? But the fact that he's gone, of course, they can't do anything but give it up here. These are some big picks up. Wait, hold on, they're approaching?
Elsis has the immortality, wants to go for the dash, but Swag Boy is a bit too quick on that retribution. Curse of Blood only finding one right now as the Black Dragon forms to the back line will be able to find its mark, and now the Petrify and a Furious Dive. Skill to kill will be taken down. Another Netherrealm as Nightcrawler will continue to free hit from the back. It's 3 for 1. Only the Roamer traded in for the mid lane and the gold lane. It might be over here.
I think this is going to be over. They're going to try their best.
There's some strike, a desperate maneuver, but he will not be able to find a single kill. Not even Elsis can survive. Immortality popped, and now another HP bar as well. Swag Boy will give his immortality over as he recalls in front of the base. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Djibouti qualify to Casablanca.
And there we go. Another sweep. Again, a sweep for all the men's games that we have been able to stream here for the African online qualifiers, the road to AEC, Casablanca, Morocco, and it will be Djibouti that gets that spot, of course, going forward. Very dominant fashion, too, from them, especially when they turn the tide in their favor around that mid-game. Swag Boy, Shanks, Nightcrawler, Dexter, Brune. And what an adjustment, too, Mirko, that was made from Dexter alone, because, man, he had a tough time in the lane. It's Dark Prime. It was great to see him on the Dyroth. He had a hell of a game, but unfortunately, as we all know, this is a 5-man game. One guy cannot carry the entire team, unfortunately. And, we're going to take a look here at the highlights, going back to game number 1 between Mali and Djibouti. And this is when we got back to this game. This is what we're talking about. Mali had a little bit of a lead here already, but you just saw how early value Dexter gave this whole game on the fact that he had an X-Borg, and he had to, the last Insanity alone was enough to deal with a lot of this. Lineups on both sides were good, but again, you have to highlight the fact for Swag Boy on this Cho pick, the XP lane Cho. That time, he assassinates the assassin. He gets Elsis. They work these team fights out really well. And it was unfortunate because for Billy, he was trying to do his job, get these implosion setups the best he could, and utilizing the fact that Harley was on their team for Mali. But it was unfortunate that they couldn't utilize these tools in their favor. And, Swag had a hell of a game on the Cho. You saw him there escape and survive the way he did. And this is the main point that even Mirko was talking about in the draft for game 1, the Cho was locked in that XP lane because it was there to deal with the Hanabi here. And we saw Hanabi back from game 1 to game 2 and even previously. And unfortunately for Skill to Kill, he never really got that opportunity to shine the way that you expect, or the way that you hope, I should say, for Hanabi to shine in the current state of the game, right? It does take some time to get her to that point, and it just didn't work out for Mali in this sense. This was also just really good play coming out from Brune on this Minoan Fury, having the Minoan Fury on the Minotaur time and time again, able to win a lot of these exchanges and team fights and set things up. Because again, this game 1, it was Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler was everywhere with the damage. This was his big damn game, as I like to say it. I know a lot of times he's just popping off, following up on the sets happening here. And this is, again, a great example of utilizing the Minoan Fury with the Last Insanity combination, fighting in. Look at that implosion. He gets multiple members, but there just isn't enough follow-up because at the same time, Skill to Kill was just out of the picture already, down and out, and just didn't have the damage. As we move on to game number 2, this is where you see, yeah, that Alucard's locked in. Interesting to have that come through. Again, a lot of you will be like, whoa, Alucard? Well, this time, this damage from the Alucard actually proved to be very helpful. But the problem was, its Dark Prime controlled the early game. And this is actually where you see it unfold. He waits very patiently, and then he's going to enter the fight here, and this leads to him getting a triple kill. The beginning of this game was actually Mali's because of what its Dark Prime does on this Dyrok pick. There's the double, here comes the triple, and, you know, again, he scales up really well. Even after this whole exchange, it was a dead lane for Dexter. Again, Yuzhong still stands at 100% win rate right now, but Dexter had a hell of a time in the lane, especially after that, and he couldn't go 1v1 with its Dark Prime. Actually, even later on in the game, its Dark Prime still 1v1 Dexter, even when Djibouti was getting back into this. So again, this was an opportunity for Mali to kind of play off the part that you have one lane just massively snowballing alone. And that impact is actually, you can play around that quite well. It's just Djibouti, from what we've seen from them in the past, they're able to turn things around, kind of adjust on the fly, and make really good decisions, you know, to kind of work around that and deal with the kind of gap that they had early on. And this is where things started to turn around, right? They punished its Dark Prime here. It was a great response again from Nightcrawler. Didn't even burn his flicker for that. It was just a little overconfidence, overzealousness to go in and fight under that turret, and things fell apart from there as we get into that first Lord take. This is a huge team fight for Djibouti to turn things around before they go and make the beeline to the Lord. They grab more objectives, and again, Mali is faced with a very big obstacle in front of them. Time and time again, though, its Dark Prime will continue to try to find setups, but by this point, when you have this lead, man, you know, 8,000 gold lead, you have the defensive items that you need for the most part to survive that combination with the Abysm Strike. Big item pickups were key here for both teams, but Mali, unfortunately, found themselves at a huge deficit they couldn't really come back from overall as a team. And even with this is the 1v1 I was talking about earlier. Even at almost the 13 minutes, Dexter still feels the pain of its Dark Prime, right? So in the 1v1, he wasn't having a good time. But overall, this is where we're like, Swag Boy, is he going to be able to take him out? Look at that. Boom, uses the Retribution, gets the extra base damage, and then works through it. Netherrealm was key in all these team fights because of that just extra health, basically, the way it kind of gives you a safety net, if you will. And of course, we haven't talked too much about this game for Brune with the Curse of Blood, but the way that the Curse of Blood works for this lineup and the way that, you know, a lot of the times Mali is bunched up together, this works out really well for them, playing into the Curse of Blood. And they could have possibly ended the game here, but they took a lot of shots from the base, of course, and, you know, they get slowed, they get stunned, they get dealt with, and then it just ends up extending the game a little bit longer. And here is also, at this point, its Dark Prime was kind of caught out before this exchange happened. They find it out, they're going to lose this team fight, and again, they get collapsed on. Nightcrawler comes in from the back, he's like, yo, yeehaw, and I'm here, you know. And this is he had a stellar game again, man, based from game 1, game 2. Nightcrawler really locking in that Clint and making it work, you know. And again, It's Dark Prime, last-ditch effort, tries to keep things from ending here, but at this point, it's way too late. 11,000 gold deficit, you know, almost 18-minute mark, and that gets Djibouti the sweep for the series and that slot heading into Casablanca.
Well played again. You know, I mean, for Nightcrawler, I think I have to give, you know, my personal shout out to him because his positioning the whole game, I think the whole series actually, from game number 1 all the way to game number 2 was just spectacular. Because I think you did see a little bit of, you know, some of these skirmishes go almost in favor to Mali, especially in game number 1 during the defense when Billy got that 4-man implosion. But that one guy that he didn't catch was Nightcrawler, the guy that was of the highest priority, the guy that you want to be catching in these moments to actually turn the game around. But Nightcrawler never gave Billy an opportunity for that to actually happen, for Billy to catch him. And it's all because he has a very, you know, unique playstyle. It's kind of like that guerrilla warfare kind of playstyle where he just waits in the back, waits for all the resources to be used up, ready for all of his other teammates to bait it out. And then once those resources have been depleted, he comes around and does the nice yeehaw, comes around, quick draw, grenade bombardment, everybody disappears, especially in the later stage of the game. Because we were talking about in the mid game how that damage is getting ridiculous, and it's going to be absolutely, I'm trying to find a word that's more ridiculous than ridiculous. You get the point, but that's what it was in the late game, right?
Is that another word you go to?
Bombastic. It was redonkulous. I don't know. I was trying to make some new words, right, to describe that damage.
New meta words?
New meta words. Hey, if they can pick Hanabi, we can try to make new words and come out here, right?
That's true, man. And again, you know, so for our viewers out there, you know, that rounds out the men's games for MLBB. And, you know, just a quick recap. It was great these 3 days, seeing what these guys brought to the table. Again, hearing some of their stories and how things, you know, went back and everything, what they do to prepare for their games. You know, we got all sweeps, though, of course, you know, while going through the men's games, at least for the streamed ones. I know there was games happening offline as well that weren't streamed. But, you know, it was great to see, and it makes me really wonder, and I know, Miracle, you feel the same way, man. Like, what is going to happen? What is going to pop up in Casablanca, Morocco at the AEC? Because I feel like from maybe what we saw here for the past few days for the men's, there's probably even more. Like, there's probably even more pocket picks, things they can bring out up their sleeves, or, you know, keeping hidden for the offline event, because you know, that's always something that teams kind of consider and what they can do. It was nice that we actually got to see, you know, some of those constant bans that were taken out, where the Harley did come through for Elsis. We have yet to see the Hanzo. Maybe we get to see that in the offline. And just the interesting combinations that were brought to the table for, you know, so far this leg has been really fun to see.
It's been phenomenal. I think, unfortunately, the only negative I would say is we didn't get a full best of 3. We didn't get to see that, because I would have loved to see a full best of 3 for any of the matches that we've already casted for the men's games, right? And I'm really hoping that for the women's games later on, for Djibouti against Egypt, for Madagascar against South Africa, I'm really hoping for a full 3-game series, because I want to see what they've got, right? And especially considering, you know, we're going to get to see Egypt play. I think this is the first time that we were going to see an Egypt game be streamed. And then also South Africa. We saw in the men's South Africa game that they were able to pop off with some crazy picks in the mid lane. Yin Rome, Hellkurt mid. I think throughout the entire African qualifiers, we're always just going to be repeating that, because we're expecting that kind of craziness for all the matches. And I really hope, well, maybe it doesn't need to be that crazy, right? Maybe they can tone it down a bit, but I would love to see these crazy new picks again, because even in this game, we saw, I think, one more unique hero making it up into like the total, the total tally with the Alucard. So yeah, that's another unique hero pick. And so far, I would love to see like the count of actually the real count of how many unique heroes we have, because we've seen so many different off-meta picks pop up. Oh, I think we actually added 2 into the tally, because the Cho, I don't remember seeing a Cho before today. Yeah, so that was the first Cho of the African regional qualifiers as well. Great stuff from the men's games. I can't wait to get to the women's games.
Yeah, great stuff. Again, very interesting to just kind of see how it unfolds and how they play, you know, their play style. Because again, before we started on day one, that was our biggest question here, Mirko, was what do these guys bring to the table? Of course, you know, we didn't get to see the online games for Egypt for men's. Can't wait to see the women's from Egypt play. But we know, you know, we know those players and we know how they have played on international stages before. So this time it's great to get the eyes on these other teams that, of course, are still developing and growing as well. And we heard their inspirations and everything. So can't wait to see them out there, of course, you know, in Casablanca, Morocco. But we have to kind of shift gears because we are going to be moving on to the female games now coming up here. We're going to be taking a 30-minute break, and we'll have a newcaster also joining us for today at this point. Who's it going to be? We will find out. We're going to take a short break again, 30 minutes. If that's short, long for you guys, I'll leave it up to you. But get your refreshments. We'll be back after this. I'm Naisu. This is Mirko, and we'll see you guys shortly.